Level 1. The Opportunist. It starts the way most bad decisions do, with a shorter paycheck and a long walk home. You're 22, working a warehouse job that barely covers rent, and you've just been handed a shorter shift for the third week in a row. On the walk home, you cut through the parking lot behind the shopping center like you always do. That's when you notice it, a silver sedan, engine running, no one inside. The driver has dashed into the convenience store for 60 seconds, maybe 90. You don't plan it. You don't think. You just open the door and drive. 3 blocks away, you pull into a side street, hands shaking, heart going twice its normal speed. You sit there for a full minute before you realize nothing happened. No alarm, no chase, no consequences. You leave the car where it is and walk the rest of the way home. But the shaking stops a lot faster than you expect it to. Over the next few weeks, you start paying attention to things you never noticed before. How many people leave their cars running outside coffee shops in the morning? How many SUVs sit unlocked in school pickup lines with a purse on the passenger seat? How many people leave the car on the driveway overnight with the windows down? You start moving on the obvious ones. Unlocked cars, quick grabs, loose cash, sunglasses, a charging cable here and there. Small enough that nobody calls the police. Small enough that it barely feels like a crime. Then you take another car. And another one after that. You drive a few miles, take whatever's inside, walk away. Then one morning it almost isn't clean. You're in a hatchback outside a laundromat when the owner walks back out early. Forgot something. You're already pulling out. She stops, looks at the car, looks at you. You don't speed. You don't freeze. You drive at exactly the speed someone who belongs in that car would drive. She doesn't chase. But you see her in the mirror, still standing there, watching. You don't go back to that street for 2 months. That's when Marcus finds you. You've seen him around the neighborhood for years, mid-40s, stocky, never seems to be in a rush. You always figured he did something in auto repair. You'd seen him working on cars outside his place more than once. You're partially right. You'll find out exactly how right in time. He's been piecing you together over several weeks. Not watching you in the act. He's too careful for that. He lives 3 blocks from the laundromat. He notices you walking away from places you didn't walk to. He pulls up next to you one afternoon and says he knows what you've been doing. Says you've got good instincts, but you're leaving money on the table. You could be offended. Instead, you get in the car. Marcus explains it simply. You're taking risks for pocket change. The cars themselves are the product, not what's inside them. There's a whole system for turning stolen vehicles into clean cash if you know how it works. You spend the next 2 weeks riding with him. Which lots have no cameras? Which neighborhoods have no overnight patrols? Which makes and models move fastest? How to be in and gone in under 40 seconds? How to rotate so no street gets hit twice in the same month? It starts to feel less like crime and more like logistics. Your first run as a 2-man operation is a nearly new pickup truck from a gym parking lot on a Tuesday morning. You're in and moving before anyone looks up from their treadmill. Marcus has a contact who takes it the same day for $800 cash. $400 each. It's not life-changing money, but it took 20 minutes. And nobody came looking. On the drive home, he says the contact can take 3 or 4 vehicles a week. 3 cars, $400 your cut each, $1,200 on top of the warehouse shifts. Then he mentions the contact has been asking for specific makes and models. The right vehicles fetch considerably more, and if you can source them to order, the split changes in your favor. He pauses and pulls out a device you've never seen before. Small, fits in a jacket pocket, looks like nothing in particular. He doesn't explain what it does. He just holds it up for a second, then puts it back. When you're ready to stop relying on people's carelessness, he says, that's the next step. You tell him you're ready now. He smiles for the first time since you've known him. Level 2. The tech. The device is called a relay amplifier. Marcus explains it the next morning, sitting at your kitchen table with 2 of them laid out on the surface like they're nothing. One unit stays near the target vehicle. The other stays near the house. The key fob inside never moves. The signal does. You amplify it across the gap between the door and wherever the owner left their keys, and the car thinks the key is right there beside it. The door unlocks. The engine starts. You drive. It's a 2-person job by design. Marcus takes the house side. You take the car. By the 3rd run, it's automatic. By the 4th, you stop thinking about the steps and start thinking about the exit. This is also where you understand what Marcus meant when you figured he did something in auto repair. He knows these vehicles the way a mechanic knows them. Which models have which diagnostic ports. which security systems can be bypassed in the driveway, and which ones need a different approach entirely. Marcus introduces the second device 2 weeks later, an OBD programmer. The relay gets you the car in the moment, but sometimes the moment isn't right. Wrong time of day, too much foot traffic, a light on in the house. The OBD programmer is for those situations. 60 seconds of access. Plug into the diagnostic port under the dashboard, clone a working key onto a blank, and walk away. No glass broken. No alarm triggered. No sign anything happened. The car sits exactly where it was. You come back for it when conditions are better. You start targeting keyless entry vehicles specifically. Late model SUVs, luxury sedans, anything less than 3 years old. Marcus has a list. The contact has preferences. Certain makes fetch more than others, and you learn which ones quickly. The operation needs more output than 2 people can manage. Marcus says it before you do. You pick 2 runners from the neighborhood. People with enough need and enough sense to follow instructions without asking too many questions. You run them separately. They never meet each other. They don't know each other's names, routes, or schedules. Each one receives an assignment by phone, drops the vehicle at a designated point, and gets paid at the point. You source 3 relay kits, 1 per runner, 1 that stays with you. Each kit is theirs to manage. You track the schedule. They track nothing except the next job. The contact's appetite grows faster than you expect. For vehicles, a week becomes 6. 6 becomes 8. You add a 3rd runner and a 2nd contact. Different buyer, different makes, different geography, referred through Marcus. Your cut climbs past 3,000 a week by month 4. Past 5,000 by month 6. You stop doing the mental math against the warehouse shifts because the comparison stopped being interesting. A close call arrives on a Thursday evening. One of your runners is mid-job in a residential driveway when a neighbor appears at the end of the block walking a dog. The runner doesn't panic. He locks the car back up, walks to the sidewalk, checks his phone like he's looking for an address, and keeps moving. The neighbor passes. He circles back 10 minutes later and completes the job. Runners check in the same night, every job. It's the one rule you don't negotiate on. He texts you that night with the full account. You take note of how he handled it, and you keep him. The relay kits start attracting attention in 2 neighborhoods on the north side. Not police, residents. Someone posts about it in a local group, describes the method with enough accuracy that it's clearly been witnessed. You see it the same evening and call Marcus. He already knows. Someone in the neighborhood flagged it to him directly. He says 1 word before you can say anything. Rotate. You pull the runners off the north side entirely for 6 weeks. Redirect to 3 different districts. Change the drop points. Brief the runners on the new zones without explaining why. They don't ask. The posts stop. No follow-up. No investigation. No names. By the end of the 2nd month, back you're running at full volume again. Marcus brings up Marlo on a Sunday afternoon. You're in the car outside a hardware store, engine running, neither of you going inside. He says the 2nd contact has a connection to a body shop owner named Marlo. Says Marlo has been doing something with the vehicles after pickup that multiplies what they're worth considerably. You ask what kind of something. Marcus says Marlo should explain it himself. You say set it up. Level 3. The shop. Marlo doesn't shake your hand when you meet him. He wipes his hands on a rag, looks at you for a moment, and goes back to what he was doing. You stand in the middle of his body shop for about 30 seconds before he starts talking. He explains it the way someone explains something they've done so many times it bores them. A stolen vehicle is worth what a buyer will pay for it on the street. A stolen vehicle with a clean identity is worth what the market says it's worth. The difference between those 2 numbers is his business. The process is called VIN cloning. You find a legitimate vehicle, same make, same model, same color, same year, that's been written off. Totaled in an accident, declared a loss, title surrendered. The car no longer legally exists, but its identity does. Its VIN, its registration history, its clean paper trail. Marlo takes that identity and transplants it onto the stolen vehicle. New plates, new documentation. A car that was stolen on Tuesday is a car with a clean title by Friday. You ask who buys them. Marlo says the same people who buy any used car. Private listings, small dealerships, export brokers. People who don't look too hard because the price is right and the paperwork looks right. You go back to Marcus that evening and tell him you want in. Marcus says he already told Marlo you would. The operation restructures around the new arrangement. Your runners continue sourcing vehicles, but the targeting changes. Marlo has a list of written-off vehicles he's sourced from salvage auction records, specific makes, models, colors, years. You match incoming stolen vehicles to his list. A vehicle that matches gets sent to Marlo. A vehicle that doesn't gets moved through the old contacts at the lower rate. The two revenue streams run in parallel, and you manage both. Marlo's process takes 4 to 5 days per vehicle. He works alone in the body shop with the doors closed. You drop the vehicle, you leave, you don't ask what happens inside. When he's done, he texts you a single word. You come back, collect the documentation, and the vehicle goes to the broker. The broker doesn't know you. He knows a man who calls himself a fleet reseller. That's Marlo. You are a layer further back than that. Your cut on a clone vehicle is 4 times what you were clearing on a straight theft. By the 3rd month, you've moved 11 vehicles through Marlo's process. By the 6th, you've moved 31. The runners don't know where the vehicles go after drop-off. Marlo doesn't know the runners' names. You are the only point where all 3 parts of the operation connect. Marcus steps back after month 4. He's not out. He still takes a referral fee on new contacts, still sends information when something useful crosses his path. But the operation has grown past what he wants to be close to. He tells you this plainly one afternoon outside the hardware store, engine running like always. You're not surprised. You understand the logic. A close call arrives in month 7. A broker runs a VIN check before finalizing a sale, and the system returns a minor flag, not a theft alert, but a registration gap Marlo's source document didn't fully cover. Marlo tells him it's a data entry error and offers supplemental documentation. The broker accepts it. The sale closes. Marlo calls you that evening. He doesn't raise his voice. He says the source documents need to be cleaner and tells you exactly what that will cost. You agree without negotiating. The gap gets closed in every job going forward. By the end of the 8th month, the operation is moving 6 to 8 vehicles per month through Marlo's shop, generating more money per vehicle than anything you've run before. The runners are reliable. The broker network is expanding. Then Marlo mentions the overseas buyer. He says the buyer moves vehicles in shipping containers, doesn't clone them, exports them before the theft is even reported internationally. No VIN swap needed. No paperwork required. He says the margin makes everything you've been doing look like the beginning. You ask when you can meet him. Marlo says you can't. Not yet. But he can arrange for the buyer to send someone. Level 4. The container. The buyer's representative arrives on a Thursday. He introduces himself as a logistics coordinator. He is not interested in small talk. He sits across from you at a diner table for 40 minutes, asks specific questions about vehicle sourcing timelines, condition standards, and monthly volume capacity, and leaves without ordering anything. 2 days later, you receive a wire transfer for a figure that makes the previous 8 months look like the beginning of something, not the end. The arrangement is straightforward. You source the vehicles. Marlo does a basic inspection, no VIN work, no documentation, just a condition check. The vehicles move to a staging warehouse on the south side. From there, they go into shipping containers, mixed with legitimate freight, manifested as industrial equipment. The containers ship from a port facility 40 miles out. The buyer handles everything from the port onward. You never see a container close. You never see one leave. You know the buyer only as a reference number on a wire transfer. The operation scales faster than anything you've managed before. You bring in 2 additional runners. The staging warehouse runs 6 days a week. Marlo's inspection takes 40 minutes per vehicle, and he does for a day. You are moving more vehicles in a month than you moved in the first 6 months of the chop shop arrangement combined. Marcus calls once, 3 months in. He asks how things are going. You say, well. He says, good. There is a pause. He says, be careful. You ask what he means. He says the size of a thing changes what it attracts. You tell him you understand. He says he hopes so. That is the last time Marcus calls. The close call doesn't feel like a close call when it happens. One of the containers gets held at the port for a secondary inspection, a routine flag triggered by a weight discrepancy in the manifest. The container sits on the dock for 11 days. You watch the tracking number every morning. On the 12th day, it clears and ships. You adjust the manifest process going forward and do not think about it more than necessary. By month 5, you have more money than you have a plan for. It sits in accounts across 3 different structures, most of it legitimate on paper, None of it accessible in a way that makes sense for someone with your stated income. You start thinking about what comes after this. You don't arrive at an answer. The knock at the door comes on a Tuesday evening. You're in the staging warehouse doing a walkthrough when you hear it. Not a knock, actually, but the sound of the roller door on the east side coming up fast, the way it does when someone overrides the manual release from outside. Two agents in HSI jackets come through first. For more behind them, a local detective you don't recognize. Someone in a suit who doesn't identify himself but takes photographs of everything. They are professional and unhurried. They know exactly where to look because they have been looking for 7 weeks. The wire transfers. The staging warehouse lease. The logistics coordinator, who turned out to be cooperating with federal investigators 3 months into his own separate case. The manifest discrepancy that didn't clear because an inspector waved it through. It cleared because the investigation needed the container to move. You are arrested in the staging warehouse beside a vehicle you sourced 4 days ago. Marcus is not arrested. Marlo is arrested at the body shop 2 hours later. The runners are picked up across 3 locations before midnight. The charges take up 4 pages. Interstate transport of stolen vehicles. Conspiracy. Wire fraud. Export violations. The prosecutors have the wire transfers, the manifest records, the warehouse lease, and the logistics coordinator's testimony. The trial runs 8 weeks. The logistics coordinator testifies for 2 days and does not look at you once. You serve 4 years. When you get out, the only work you can find that uses what you know is a position with an auto theft task force, consulting on export ring structures. The same staging patterns. The same manifest gaps. The same weight discrepancies in shipping documents. You know exactly what you're looking at because you built it.